Hi, everyone. I'm Rhonda Taylor. I'm the Director of Partnerships and Program Engagement at AmeriCorps. I'm so glad you could join us today in preparation for the 9/11 National Day of Service and Remembrance. Through having these webinars earlier and more focused on individual topics, we hope you gain information that sparks ideas and directs you to resources that will help you, your organization, and your community honor and serve veterans and military families and honor those who lost their lives or rose in service over 20 years ago on that tragic September morning. Our future webinars will address getting involved in supporting our environment, bridging and unity, tips for volunteer management, a broadly focused webinar on other resources and project ideas, and finally, using AmeriCorps tools and resources to market and promote your work. Please use the Q&A feature to ask questions during the presentation. We will attempt to answer some of those live and some of them in the Q&A feature, or you can hold your questions to the end and we'll allow for participants, listeners on the panel on the webinar to queue up for questions, as well as answer those that have been submitted in Q&A that we haven't answered to the extent that we can. Thank you again. I'm pleased to welcome our partners in this webinar today. My Good Deed, the co-founders of My Good Deed, David Payne and Jay Winnick. They are our key partners and the founders of this day of service. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, the Office of Faith and Neighborhood Partnerships will talk about how you can help veterans and their families. And then we have our colleagues from the National Cemetery Administration who will tell you about some ways to get involved with cemetery restoration, as well as volunteer in a national cemetery in honor of 9/11. Thank you very much. And we look forward to taking your questions at the end. Next slide, please. Now it's my great pleasure to welcome David Payne and Jay Winnick, our partners in this day of service.
Thank you, Rhonda. It's a pleasure to participate in the webinar today. AmeriCorps has been an extraordinary partner of the 9/11 Day of Service in our nonprofit for close to 2 decades, and Rhonda has been around for a lot of that. So I want to again thank all the wonderful individuals at AmeriCorps that have done so much to help us and to bring the 9/11 Day organization to where it is today, which is the largest day of service in the country. So it's extraordinary. Jay, unfortunately, was not able to attend today. Something came up that created a conflict for him, but he's empowered me to tell you everything that you need to know about the 9/11 Day organization. So why don't we jump right into that? So if we want to get to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit quickly about 9/11 Day, and then let's get into some of the details about some of the programs that we're implementing that helps to support veterans, ideas that you may have, and some resources that may be available to you. So I'm sure that many of you are already pretty familiar with 9/11 Day, which was founded by the nonprofit My Good Deed. I think most people know us today as 9/11 Day, but we do still go under the name My Good Deed. So if you run into either one of those, it's the same organization. The 9/11 Day idea was created very soon after the September 11th attacks by the 9/11 community at large. And I'm one of the 2 co-founders, along with Jay, who, as you know, lost his brother Glenn, who was a volunteer firefighter who was unfortunately lost when the South Tower collapsed at the World Trade Center in New York City. And real soon after that, Jay and I got together with other 9/11 members, and I think we talked more than anything else about wanting something good to come from that day. And we were so inspired by the way our nation put aside its differences in the immediate aftermath of the attacks, how we really at that point weren't red states or blue states. We were just Americans trying to help one another. And we felt that that would be a wonderful way of paying tribute in perpetuity. So we set out to transform the anniversary of 9/11 into a day of doing good and a day of unity. And as you know, more formally in 2009, Congress joined with President Barack Obama to designate September 11th as a National Day of Service and Remembrance under federal law. And our nonprofit was given a responsibility, along with AmeriCorps, to help lead and grow that observance year over year. And together, we have had great success getting to the place where more than 30 million Americans participate in a wide range of activities. It's not just a day of volunteering. Obviously, that's a heavy emphasis for all of us, but it's also just a day of being kind, doing good, helping one another. Any good deed counts. So that is one of the reasons why it's continued to grow year over year. Kids are, giving away clothing they don't need, or literally making their beds and doing the dishes to help their parents out. It's a really inspiring experience, and yet it still has a long way to go. Only about 40% of the country is aware that 9/11 is a federal day of service. So together, I think we can do a lot to build awareness and participation. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. One of the important aspects of 9/11 Day, which I'm sure you're also aware of, is that it is essentially a nonpartisan, or you could say bipartisan initiative, where over the last decade and a half, individuals who are both Republicans, Democrats, and others have all joined together. And simply because I think they realize how important it is that we remind the country at least one day out of the year that we are all Americans, that we all can work together to help to make the world a safer and better place. And so, as you can see here, everybody from former First Lady Laura Bush to Barack Obama and others on both sides of the aisle have joined together to support this observance. And we're very careful to make sure that it stays that way. We never want politics to get in the way of any American who might want to pay tribute and remember the people that were killed and the many who rose in service in response to the attacks. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. One of the important parts of our program and our message is unity. As you can see here from survivors, first responders, and others who, were on the ground when 9/11 happened, what they saw were people helping each other, perfect strangers, that didn't care about politics. And I think for all of them and for so many of us, that experience changed us. I think we, as Terry Tobin says here, we need to see each other as human beings worthy of dignity and respect, all of us, regardless of what, perceived differences we might have. And that, together we really can accomplish a lot. And so when you're out communicating about this program, whatever it is you may do, it's really important that you emphasize that it is not just a day of service, it's a day of togetherness. It's a moment when we celebrate what we all have in common, even if we may have differences of opinion on really important issues. So I do encourage you to make that a big part of your messaging. And of course, when you go to our website, there are going to be a lot of resources, videos, and other things that you can utilize to help support that activity. Rhonda, you can go to the next slide. You're probably very familiar with the 9/11 Day Meal Pack program. We started this back in 2016 with the support of AmeriCorps, and over the what is now become 7 years, we have grown from just one volunteer service project in New York City to what will be 18 projects all around the nation today in many, many major cities across the country. And each and every single one of these projects focus on hunger relief. For good reason. September, as you know, is Hunger Action Month. And another thing that, another fact that a lot of people may not know about is that about a quarter of the families that receive food assistance in this country have at least one veteran in the household. And so when we picked meal packing, we wanted to do it as a way to both engage veterans and military personnel in the packing of these meals, as well as benefit veterans that may be at risk of hunger. And so this is an important reason why, hunger is an important activity of ours each and every September. So, if you're interested in learning more about our meal pack program, if you go to our website beginning tomorrow afternoon, because we're launching a brand new one for the Points of Light Conference, you'll see a section called meal packs, and you'll be able to see which cities will be in this year. And in most cases, these are projects that engage more than 1,000 volunteers, elected officials, and others who all come together to address food insecurity in the local community. You can go to the next slide. Speaking of the website, so next year, this last year we launched a new site, and then again we're refreshing it here for 2023. And what's great about this site is that you'll find more resources than we've ever had before. We have videos, short and long, from family members encouraging people to get out and serve. We have all sorts of great toolkits. We have a really important campaign called I Will for 9/11 Day, in which people from all ages, students as well as individuals within organizations, employers, and others, make their own voluntary pledges to do good deeds of any nature, some act of service in remembrance of 9/11. All of the toolkits and resources you need to activate a campaign like that will all be on our site, along with the really terrific resources that AmeriCorps will be providing as well. And I hope that particularly those of you that are, nonprofit organizations will appreciate how valuable 9/11 Day is as an opportunity to benefit your nonprofit too, not just, other organizations and entities, because millions of people are looking for things that they can do on 9/11. They're looking for, quote, good deeds, and that can include making a donation to your nonprofit. So, don't hesitate to reach out to your donor community, as you might on Giving Tuesday, and ask them to support you in observance of the federally recognized September 11th Day of Service. So again, beginning tomorrow afternoon and on Thursday, if you go to 911day.org, you'll find a wealth of really helpful information and materials, and that library of materials will continue to grow over the next couple of weeks. I wanted to touch on this campaign very briefly, because if you remember the 10-year anniversary of 9/11, we had a very successful social media initiative called I Will. And essentially it was an opportunity to challenge Americans individually and as organizations to make a pledge to do some sort of act of service, some act of kindness or charity in observance of 9/11, meaning for 9/11, I will ... And when you go to our website tomorrow, you'll see an opportunity to sign up for that campaign. It's free, of course, and we will be sending you a comprehensive social media toolkit that will outline sort of ways in which you can promote this. I also want to say that on the site, we're going to have a complete collection of good deeds and activities, service projects that people can do to support veterans. So that'll be obviously a very important and significant part of this campaign. But this is really sort of, up to you to decide how you want to activate around I Will for 9/11 Day. It could be obviously to promote your own mission, your own activities. It could be to do lots of different things. But over the last, I'd say decade, we've had over 50,000 organizations and individuals that have posted sort of their planned service activities and good deeds. And we hope you'll join this campaign and use that hashtag along with other hashtags like AmeriCorps and other program hashtags that may be relevant to you this year. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our next speaker. And again, if you have any questions at all, I've gone ahead and I've posted a link to our slides in the webinar chat. You'll actually be able to watch some videos through that. And at the end, my email is there. So if you want to send, an email to me, david.payne@911day.org, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So Rhonda, I'll turn it back to you.
It's my great pleasure to welcome our next presenter, Conrad Washington. He's the director of the Department of Veterans Affairs Center for Faith and Neighborhood Partnerships. He'll talk about some ideas of how you can, other ideas about how you can help and support veterans and military families. Conrad, all yours.
Hey, thank you very much. Next slide. Appreciate it. I'll be very brief. I just want to share just a couple of things. We know that this month is Juneteenth, right? June 17th. So we're going to honor that next week. So we're excited about that. I just want to share that. And also, I want to let you know it's National Candy Month. So there you go. So if your doctor says it's okay, get some candy. So I am the director for Center for Faith-Based. We're going to talk briefly about who we are and some resources for you as well. Next slide. So our mission, I'm not going to read the slide. I'll just paraphrase. Basically, we're here to reach out to faith-based and community organizations across the nation. We do that various ways through outreach. There are many offices in the Department of Veteran Affairs that are seeking the same goal, which is to get as many veterans as we can under the umbrella of the VA. We have about 20 million veterans, 19 and some change million veterans across the out there, and so we only have about 9.5 million connected to veteran services. So we're all trying to find different ways to reach veterans and their families and beneficiaries. Next slide. So we are the Center for Faith-Based here at the VA, but there are also other federal agencies that have centers for faith. And specifically, the White House has an Office of Faith-Based Neighborhood Partnerships. We fall under the White House. We are reestablished each administration since about 2004. So currently, the Biden-Harris administration reestablished us in 2021. So we're excited about being in existence still, and we look forward to continue to serve. Next slide. So I love this slide because it talks about how you can serve and how we can serve our veterans. And basically, we are the front door to faith-based and community organizations across the nation, right? And what that means is when people come and they want to connect to the VA, there are many doors to enter into the VA. We have about over 300,000 folks across the world, different capacities, over 170 medical centers. So the VA is big. I think the second largest federal agency. There's a lot going on. But if you are a faith-based or community organization and you want to connect with the VA, we invite you to join us as we reach veterans across the nation through outreach. We have webinars, just like AmeriCorps is having a webinar today. I just jumped off of our webinar with the chaplain's office, right? We have about 3 to 4 webinars each month, ranging from a wide array of topics, from benefits to homelessness, survivors assistance, you name it. So we're excited about rolling that out to you. And then you can be an actual door to veterans by partnering with us. And I'll share how you can do that shortly. Next slide. So how can you partner with us? You can start a veteran ministry, a welcome center, any kind of veteran support group in your neighborhood across the nation. You can do that. And you can partner with us as we work with you to equip you with resources and information across VA enterprise level. We know that suicide prevention is a national crisis. We know that it's preventable. VA has worked closely with so many different agencies. We know the current administration, the president signed a fact sheet a couple of years ago, so it has national attention. So if you want more information on suicide prevention, homelessness for veterans, or whatever it is, we can get that information for you through you starting a veteran support group. If you're a house of worship, right, you can start a veteran ministry. It doesn't align to a specific denomination. We're ecumenical. So we work with all different faiths, Catholic, Muslim, you name it. At the end of the day, we want to ensure that we include everyone who wants to serve veterans. And it can be very different across the nation. You can have a coffee, Starbucks, you can have fishing trips, you can have boating trips. We just ask a couple of things that you do it regularly and let it be positive so that veterans can connect. I am a veteran, a combat veteran, served 20 years on active duty. I don't know everything about being a veteran, but I do know that most of us like to have, a connection to something bigger than ourselves, a sense of belonging. And I think this 9/11 is a great opportunity to connect and volunteer. You'll get more veterans to do that. Next slide. So a couple of things for you before I depart. There's a bunch of programs in the VA. I don't have time to share them all. I'm sure you probably heard about a lot of them, but I do want to share a few. The first is the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson honoring our promise to address comprehensive toxins, which is better known as the PAC Act. It was signed last year by the president, and we're excited about rolling it out. I think by the end of the year, It's opened up for retroactivity for those who connect. And basically what it is, it was passed last year, but it helps those who are exposed to toxic hazards, radiation, smoke, Agent Orange, burn pits, from all different wars. So Vietnam, Gulf War, Iraq War that I was in. So I invite you to pursue and reach out. The website on the bottom here, I just skipped to the bottom. You see the last bullet there. You can apply for benefits by visiting va.gov/pact, and submit your information. Next slide. I thought it'd be helpful to share programs that some are not familiar with. And the General Caregivers Program is something that I recently learned about in the recent years. This caregiver program is great because it allows those people who are taking care of veterans, caring for veterans, and even those who desire to care for veterans, an opportunity to get resources. And sometimes there's a monetary compensation involved, but I will ask you to go to their website, caregiver.va.gov. And then there's a national caregiver support line on the bottom there. You see the number there. And I think the slides here are available to you. But the caregiver program is a great opportunity to serve and to care for our veterans. Next slide. And here I just thought this would be helpful. A bunch of information. I know it's just information overload here, but hey, many people want to do business with the VA for various reasons, various levels. They may have all kind of ideas and different things, but hey, go to the website there. The first bullet, doing business with the VA, teaches you how to do it. Acquisition, there's a process for everything. We know things must be done decent and in order, and the VA has a process for different things. SBA, Small Business Liaison are located nationwide to offer advice for veteran-owned businesses. So you can look at that. Then there's a GPD program, the Grant Per Diem program, and then you have the HUD-VASH program for housing, and VA stands on Housing First, which supports getting a veteran into housing right away with the wraparound services. So we want to make sure that veterans are not just housed and they don't have what they need, but they get the wraparound services as well. Next slide. And you see here my staff. That's our office staff. I'm there. Please reach out if you have additional questions. And I'll turn it over to NCA with Ricardo Da Silva and Michael Borshade. Hope I pronounced that right. Be blessed.
Yes, sir, you did. Yes, sir, you did. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Borshade. We also have Ricardo Da Silva on the line. Go to the next slide, please. So right now, I'll give you a little bit of history about myself. I am also a combat veteran of 5 years. Right now I work for the National Cemetery Administration, Memorial Product Services. So I've worked with the NCA under various capacities, one being a director of National Cemetery. All the way right now, I am doing the Memorial Product Services for the NCA. But right now, we're actually working on an initiative for cemetery restorations. Next slide, please. So what we're looking for, or what we're looking to do in regards to cemetery restoration program, we're trying to support the underserved veteran communities and preserving the legacy of our veterans, moving that perpetuity towards the private cemeteries. So what does that mean? Typically in the National Cemetery, when we inter a veteran, we ensure that they have a properly marked grave with a beautiful headstone. We make sure that their grave is kept in perpetuity, meaning that we make sure that the grounds are always kept, the stones always clean, et cetera, et cetera. We find us lacking in that, and I'm not going to say us, I mean from a community standpoint, we find that lacking that. Those that are buried in private cemeteries do not have that same perpetuity, and we're trying to bridge that gap. So we want to ensure that all unmarked graves are always marked and marked properly with the marker befitting their service. We want to make sure that all grave marks are clean. Next slide, please. Yeah, we can go into the video.
Did you know that the VA provides a free headstone or marker to any veteran buried in a private cemetery? Sadly, there are countless veterans from the Civil War to the Korean War laying in unmarked graves, gone and forgotten. But we can preserve their legacies by placing a headstone or marker on their grave sites.
It's definitely nice to know that I'm helping preserve someone's memory, someone that had a life. You know, they were loved and they had an impact on either this community or the area.
Our goal would be that in every cemetery, in every community, all soldiers have marked graves. You know, they've given their last measure for the country, and it seems like it's really the least that we can do.
Many veterans in unmarked graves were African American, and some were former slaves. As such, there is a greater movement to not only preserve the veterans' legacy with a headstone, but also document their contributions and sacrifices.
This is a resting place for the slaves, those who were enslaved, those who were seeking freedom, and for those who came after them, such as Robert has mentioned, the United States Colored Troops, the Buffalo Soldiers, just a whole host of our military guys all the way up through the Korean War are buried here. We try to have things here so that people will understand the history of the enslaved and the history of those who were the freedom seekers, and also understand why we have a United States Colored Troops, why we have Buffalo Soldiers, why we have these men that was in World War I and II in segregated units.
To receive a headstone or a flat marker for a gravesite or a bronze niche cover for cremated remains, you must have proper documentation to prove the veteran's term of service. This can be a lengthy process.
What's next is many hours of research. We have to go and pull the files on all those individuals, get their name, date of birth, proper spelling, branch of military, see if we have discharge papers, get their social security numbers, and then turn that over to the local Veterans Association, and they're going to help us order the markers.
As we march onward with aspirations of greatness, let us never forget on whose shoulders we stand, these fallen patriots who have paid the ultimate sacrifice.
For more information, visit www.cem.va.gov or call 202-632-8035.
Next slide, please. So what we hear is legacy. It's NCA's mission to preserve the legacy for all of these veterans. But in my opinion, and the opinion of my colleagues, it's everyone's responsibility to assist in this effort. So how can you help? If you see or know of a cemetery that's in need of some sort of restoration project that does have veteran headstones in it, please contact us. You can use that the va.gov email that's here in the link. I can post it if you need to. Next slide, please. Also, join us out here on the 9/11 Patriot Day. If you click on the Patriots Day link in this slide, you will also see a list of cemeteries that will be hosting the 9/11 Patriots Day cemeteries ceremonies and in partnership with Carry the Load. Excuse me. And next slide, I think that is it. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you to our presenters today. We're happy to take any questions that may have arisen as they presented. If you want to hit, Stephanie, do you want to give them directions about how they queue to ask a question?
Yes, if you select the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, you will be able to submit a question, and then we can either answer it in writing or live.
Is
And
it also
alternatively, you can raise your hand and we will unmute you and you'll be able to ask your question audibly.
I want to especially thank all our presenters today and our VA colleagues. There are so many needs, but one thing stood out for me. I think it was Conrad who said it, but our other VA colleagues would stand right behind that. I think veterans are first and foremost they understand and want to serve. If you have veterans in your community, we encourage you to ask them to serve with you on 9/11. Once you get to know them, sometimes it's easier. It should always be easier, frankly, once you have that kind of relationship, to also understand if there are needs that are not being addressed. So we really do encourage you to ask a veteran or a veteran's family to serve with you as well.
Rhonda, we have one hand raised if you want to take that.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, Tyler, your microphone is allowed. You're able to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is actually Alicia Macklin. My apologies, Tyler Osborne is my staff member. But the question that I had, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Question I have is in regards to the cemetery project. I'm in Pensacola, Florida, military town. Pensacola NAS is here. And we have several cemeteries that we believe may have veterans. How would we go about finding out if some of those who do need a little bit more love and care in those other cemeteries, how would we find out if that will qualify for a project to be able to clean that up, to find out if there are actually veterans there?
Well, all cemeteries qualify. It just depends on the effort that's going to be needed for that cemetery. What we do is we reach out to local VSOs and community leaders, and we actually try to leverage their assistance with the cleanup efforts or ordering efforts. As it relates to cemeteries that may need new headstones, or are you referring to any cemeteries that are unmarked?
There is one here in Pensacola that has unmarked and marked, but the cemetery is very old. So there are some headstones that are cracked and crumbling and in much decay, great decay.
Well, I tell you what, I'm putting my email in the chat. Can you please email me the information and I can?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your service.
Not a problem.
One of the really wonderful things is that National Cemetery Association is really helpful in trying to help you track down if there's other work going on in that cemetery, and connect with those volunteers. They've been really good about that. We started working together last year in honor of MLK Day, and I think it's been a really worthwhile project for all of us to be involved in. It certainly is important to get those markers and identify those soldiers who were not honored in the same way that many of their peers were. Any other questions? If not, I'm gonna, while you're deciding if you have a question you'd like to ask, the cemetery contact information is on this PowerPoint, and it will be, all of it will be up online as soon as we do. It takes us usually about a week to get it on our website, and we'll send up a follow-up letting you know that it's there.
Hey, Rhonda?
Yes?
Oh yeah, this is David again. I just had one final thing I wanted to mention, which is that at all of our meal packs around the country, we typically need to recruit upwards of 50 to 80 staff volunteers to help greet the meal packers when they arrive and give them instructions and guide them through the process. And these sort of tend to be our project leaders. And of course, they also are volunteers. But this year, we're making a special effort to staff as many of those positions as possible with either military veterans or active duty personnel that may be stationed nearby. So if anyone has any thoughts and ideas about how we might make that volunteer opportunity available on a city-by-city basis, please let me know.
So, Kathy, thank you for letting us know that you're going to be doing a stand down for homeless veterans on September 8th in Greensboro. I assume that's North Carolina. they're interested in the meal pack opportunity on a smaller scale, maybe, David?
Yeah.
You might want to connect. Kathy, David, can you drop your email
Yep.
into the chat? And so you and Kathy can be in touch about some ideas you may have.
Yep, just did, thanks.
Kathy, I would also suggest,
Kathy.
just because
Yeah.
my daughter went to college in Greensboro, it might be a nice opportunity to reach out to the colleges and see if those students would help with meals too. Do a meal pack of some sort with you. Or do a collection for meals for the homeless veterans.
Rhonda, there's another hand raised from
Okay.
Janet.
Please go ahead.
Go ahead, Janet, you can unmute.
Hi, I was just wondering if the stand downs, could it be a small stand down in an already established homeless shelter?
I don't see why not. I mean, the really point, I think, is to meet the veterans where they are and help them get the resources that they need. So,
Okay.
yes, I think anywhere.
So how would AmeriCorps help provide materials for that, as far as pamphlets, stuff like that, or?
Conrad, does the VA help with providing information for stand downs?
Yeah, so actually, how it works is there are many offices in the VA, and ours is one that actually we go across the country. We don't call them stand downs, we call them outreach events. Kind of the same thing. We'll come out on a Saturday from like 8 a.m. to like maybe 1 p.m. We'll have breakout sessions from a wide array of topics: suicide prevention, homelessness, from a credentialized VA subject matter expert. And then we'll ask the community to have community connections that come out as well. And again, we connect with the VA Medical Center locally, have the medical center director or representative come out. And the intent is to connect the community to VA services and to the VA Medical Center, so that we can, take over the community and connect veterans and their families to the resources that they need. And you can do all this by reaching out to our office. And rather than me do everything, you can just go to Google and type in VA Center for Faith. We have an organizational mailbox on our website. My team, I have an outreach coordinator. We're more than happy to connect with you and schedule something. But again, for us to come from DC, as you know, it's got to be worthwhile because there's a cost involved for us for traveling. We normally partner with many organizations. So I would advise you to maybe connect with a
Hello?
Conrad, we lost you.
Well, I'm with AmeriCorps Operation Veteran Connects out of Seniors and Services out of Tampa. So I'm sure that we've got a lot of this information we can get.
Are you back, Conrad?
Yes, sorry. I think it's a little unstable there.
Yeah, Conrad, could you send that link out again, please?
Okay, I will do. Will do.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, Kyla Osborne asked, are the meal pack projects a joint effort, or are we handling the process with our senior volunteers? And Kyla, 911.mygooddee.org and is a grantee for the 9/11 Day of Service, but they're also an individual organization. So they are running these meal packs, but this year they have a different sign up for recruiting volunteers, and that will be directly on their website, I believe. Is that correct, David? David?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So when will that be live, do you think?
Probably by tomorrow evening.
Okay. So Chyla, the 9/11 Day, no slashes or anything, 911day.org. There will be a sign up for volunteers in the locations where they're having meal packs.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah,
there
you'll
any-
see, you'll see the place where you can register it. And like I said, we're looking for particularly staff volunteers that can fill some of those positions. And it doesn't have to be veterans, it really could be anybody. And obviously from faith-based groups, community service groups, that's usually where a lot of the group or people come from. And you'll also see the complete list of all the cities there. So you can just select the one that, or ones that interest you, and then just drop us a note and we'll get right back to you.
Jeff or Stephanie, any more questions?
Janet, I noticed you had your hand raised and then lowered it. Did we answer your question? Or is there anyone else that would like to raise their hand?
Yeah, I have my hand up. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I did see a question in the Q&A in regards to what qualifies a vet to receive a headstone, and I just wanted to make sure that I did answer that question. And I want to answer that question for everyone. What qualifies a veteran for a headstone or marker is active duty service with an other than dishonorable discharge. But I say that reluctantly because the what qualifies a veteran can vary from year to year, the area you served, et cetera, et cetera. It can vary so much. So I do encourage everyone that is, who wants to apply for a level 1 to receive a headstone, please turn in your 1330s, your VA-Form 40-1330s, and we will vet their eligibility. Please let us do our job in that regard. And that is all.
Okay. If there aren't any more questions, can you go to the final slide, please? We hope that you will, I see one more slide. We have a large elderly community and many of them are veterans. Would a diaper drive work for an event? Absolutely. Absolutely. Our hope at AmeriCorps, and I know with our other grantee partners, is that you'll have a project that best sorts the need, that best addresses the needs in your community. If you can help the veteran community, all the better. But we really hope that you'll look around and see what the needs are and use this National Day of Service and Remembrance to connect with others and meet needs, important needs in your community in honor of those who lost their lives more than 20 years ago and those who rose in service and continue to serve. As we close out today, we hope that you will stay in touch with us, 911day.org and at AmeriCorps. If you still need ideas, we have several more webinars coming up focused on climate, bridging and unity, volunteer mobilization, and just various different kinds of projects and nonprofits that support them. Each is listed on our website, AmeriCorps.gov/serve/volunteer/911-day. That's long. If you plug in 9/11 day, AmeriCorps 9/11 day on Google, it'll get you there too. Even 911day.gov will probably take you right there. If you need to reach us at AmeriCorps, engagement@cns.gov is the best way to do that. We encourage all of you to become champions of the 9/11 Day of Service. We have a few requirements. They're very minimal, like promotion of the Day of Service is one of them. That deadline for signing up to be a champion is August 1st. We hope that as you decide what you're going to do in honor of 9/11, that you will go to our website, that same one I mentioned earlier, and register your projects and tag them as hashtag 9/11 or 9/11 day so that they'll be discoverable. When you do that and people come to search for a volunteer opportunity, they may not find the opportunity necessarily that they want, but they'll be they'll get ideas to do their own, and they'll get other ideas for how they can help in their community. So it's an important, sometimes I know it feels tedious, but it's an important part of the day of service, is letting others know how you're honoring and encouraging them to join you or create their own project. So if there are no other questions that we've missed, we thank you for joining us. Watch for the recording. It will also include the PowerPoint. So all the links that we've talked about and all the things that we've talked about today will be there for you to see as well. And as I said, thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to all the important service and the people that you will help and join together on September 11th. Bye.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.